serious which addiction isn't taken seriously enough. Honestly, weed. People assume that it's just stoners, and there's so many myths surrounding weed, mainly that it's not addictive and there's not withdrawal symptoms. If someone can't go a day or a few hours without smoking, it loses appetite, has stomach cramps, nausea, etc. When they do try to go without it, it's an addiction. It doesn't just make you a stoner. It is also a psychoactive substance, and when smoking it heavily before you fully develop can lead to an array of mental health issues down the line, or susceptibility to developing them earlier on. Addiction to misery. So many people would rather live tumultuously through different arcs of drama for a moment of excitement than be stable and consistent. So many people would rather wallow and consume negative media that reinforces their negative feelings instead of self-improvement. So many people use mental illness as a personality trait and a way to get likes without even trying to be better. Every person wants companionship while simultaneously being at each other's throats. Porn. It's an addiction that isn't taken serious. It affects your view on women and how you view your relationships. Also, just doing it because something isn't going right in life. You're bored, jerk off. Stressed at work, jerk off. Can't sleep, jerk off. Just doing it to fill the voids throughout the day, or just because isn't good. It unfortunately causes guys to develop it at younger ages now. Really wish it was taken more seriously. Gambling addiction. No one seems to be able to understand it, except people who have it. Second issue is that you basically carry casinos in your pocket nowadays. There's thousands of online casinos. Transferring money takes tens after a count has been made. Imagine trying to quit any addiction, or having to carry it in your pocket all day every day. Then when you give in, people say you're an idiot. I'll say this. I developed compulsive use disorder when I was 11, huffing gas religiously during years of sustained abuse. It's been the most destructive force to my life my entire life. Doesn't help I never knew about it until I was 50. If wish this psychological disorder was more widely known and understood and studied. Addiction and this seem the same, but they're not. Sugar. Eating small sweets, cutting soda drinks, and sugar in tea, coffee. You actually just get used to this sort of living within a month or two. But these 2 months are literally full of withdrawal cravings. After that though, the most random things taste sweet to you, and drinking tea or coffee with sugar just kills the taste. Shoplifting. People often disregard how addicting it is. I had a problem a while ago, and so did some of my friends. Most people don't realize that for light shoplifting for non-essential stuff, it's rarely about the things you're stealing. It's about the anticipation and the rush you get when you step foot out the store, completing your mission. Food addiction is such a lack of concern for the subject because people don't see an addiction. They see an overweight person that they either judge, pity, laugh at, bully, or just feel superior to or grossed out by. Obviously, it's not all overweight people that actually have a food addiction, but the thing is nobody cares if they do. Where I live, alcohol addiction. Every other song is about drinks. There's a dude who woke up Boxing Day bright and early, sat down outside the rum shop since 8 a.m. and stumbled home sometime after 6 p.m. I haven't seen him since that day now that I think about it, but he'd frequent that shop day in, day out, and he deteriorated over time. Social media, phone use. The constant need for instant fast gratification. I recognized I have this problem when I had trouble getting through a movie and regularly paused it to check my phone. It just didn't keep my attention anymore. And with the vast number of kids these days glued to their tablets, it just isn't healthy. The opioid crisis is going on and nobody really cares. Watch videos of Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia. They probably just feel it's cheaper to clean them up off the streets than offer a solution. I know some people wouldn't ever go, but I'm sure there are a bunch that would if they could afford it. Chronic pain. But I'll explain. Chronic pain in itself sucks. The addiction more or less comes from the amount of meds, prescription or not, you need to take. Solve the pain. Solve the addiction. Simple. Some pain is unfortunately harder to solve. Looking at you, ankylosing spondylitis. As a former crack and heroin addict, caffeine and cigarettes though that is taken seriously. I was at rehab for 6 months and 29 out of the 31 people there smoked. And we all drank tea or coffee. We'd all given up drugs and drink. But try take away the coffee and there'd be a riot. Attention, praise, validation, addiction. People enslave themselves to receive a PV, even when they get it in legitimately healthy levels from friends, family, and loved ones. People put themselves in danger, destroy relationships, and degrade who they are to receive a hit of a PV. Marijuana. I lost my brother to it. He odd and not even the paramedics could revive him, they called it drunk. Though I never heard NJ called that before. They found him in a sleeping bag behind 7-Eleven with NJ paraphernalia all around him. Pipe. Tinfoil. Fuck weed. Weed. The people who say it's not addictive just aren't addicted to it. It's never taken seriously and always joked about. With all the selective breeding going on in the industry, make the THC content higher, it's that much easier for a brain to become addicted to. Limerence, or person addiction, in which you get obsessively attached to a specific person. Hard to treat because it can be a normal early stage of a romantic relationship, but you have people who get stuck in it for years with people with little rhyme or reason. Alcohol. Wine specifically, is totally normalized for someone to sit down and have a couple glasses of wine on the evenings. But if that same person chose to have beer or hard liquor, they would instantly be labeled an alcoholic. Alcohol is alcohol. Spending addiction. My mother has a spending addiction that has ruined my dad and her. But when I talk about it, people just think she's quirky. We know about spending addiction, but people have a really hard time truly understanding its damage. Hoarding I classify as an addiction, and it doesn't get nearly enough understanding or attention. It needs, as far as interventions go. Nobody gets help because of the shame and stigma surrounding it, and the problems just get worse and worse. Sugar. The power of the sugar lobby in the USA is shocking. Most people aren't even aware of it. They have been poisoning US citizens for decades. I advise you all watch for products that have added sugar. That is the death flag. Video games. My mum would spend hours and hundreds on games while not feeding me for days to afford it in her. Fancy clothes. Spending money is another one, but it was the video games that had her sucked away from responsibilities. The need to be entertained at all times. Music, internet, TV, YouTube, Netflix, podcasts, even reading, you name it. While cooking, exercising, pooping, commuting, waiting, eating, driving, sleeping, everywhere. Always. Porn. Like telling a porn addict to just stop being horny is like telling a food addict to just stop eating. It's technically correct but won't help. Needs to actually be acknowledged and treated as an addiction. Vaping. A lot of people think at least they aren't smoking, but all these dumb teenagers are consuming so much nicotine. It's wild. There are middle schoolers addicted to nicotine now because of vaping. Nicotine. It's insanely addictive and will severely warp your sense of timing. No one talks about it, but like most other addictions, your clock resets with it. Except this one is acceptable in society. Staying up late for no apparent reason. It's taking a serious toll on my mental health, and yet I can't seem to stop. Maybe my circadian rhythm is fucked, but it seems like I do this completely by choice. Gambling. There really isn't a way to recover from it in the midst of society, as it is prevalent everywhere, while being absolute horror and therefore suicide the only way out of it for most people. Porn. I saw a document and it was so hard not to laugh, but honestly porn is a delicate issue considering that many kids have access to it. And there are some pretty weird things going on there. Literally all of them. Name one addiction where people actually get help and it is treated like a disease, instead of facing a broken system that treats them like burdens and criminals first. Did you hear about the AMS Motivational Syndrome telethon to help the cannabis addicted? Neither did anybody else. They forgot to announce it after putting it off several times. Law. Sugar. But that's the socially acceptable addiction, so they put it in everything and don't worry about the health risks. It's fine. Studies. What studies? Have another Snickers, nods. Caffeine. My caffeine addiction is so bad that if I don't have coffee for a day, I get horrible headaches and sickness from the withdrawal. But I literally can't imagine not drinking any. Sugar. I have been sugar-free since August. I should clarify by sugar I mean sweets, cakes, that sort of stuff. I'm not including veg before anyone tries catching me out on that one. Social media. And I know because I believe I used to be. It's a total waste of time. And so bad for our mental health. But no one wants to admit it because almost everyone does it. I don't think it's recognized as an addiction yet. But the need to always have a doorgram and to put it before the relationships and interactions with humans is a serious problem. Which one is? It is a habit or a problem or someone just not dealing. Blah. 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 To a person hooked on something. Just by definition, addiction is just not a problem. Attention and sympathy. My mother will blatantly lie and throw anyone under the bus to get sympathy and attention. She's lost jobs, friends, and my respect. Soda, especially for me. I was able to quit both smoking and dipping cold turkey after doing each for years. But drinking soda is just on a whole different level. Technology. If you were to take the smartphone and internet access away from a Gen Z, you would see the same behavior as a smoker who can't get smokes. Nicotine and alcohol. At least in Austria, people think it's okay because it is legal, but it can still be very harmful. And it's way too normalized. Weed, if you have something fulfilling going on in your life, is easy to use casually, but it can become a problem when things get rough in life. Mobile phones. Yes, there are some articles about the social problems it brings, but nothing is done. People are too hooked on these things.